Hi everyone, thank you for joining us on Rising Stories. This show is all about hearing stories told by business owners and authors about their journey. They answer those questions about how they opened their brick and mortar businesses and how they were able to publish their books. These stories touch on so many emotions because they are authentic and powerful. I hope you are enjoying these episodes as much as I am. If so, please take a few minutes to do two things for me. Share this podcast with a friend on Facebook and leave me a review on iTunes. We are growing. Rising Stories is growing. And it's all because of you, the listener. And I just want to say thank you so much. My guest today is Kristen Kindoll. She is an amazing woman. She's an author, a teacher, a mom, and she is a full-time learner and seeker. I love that about her. We talk about everything from how she found time to write her books, where she chooses to pour her energy into, and even some of her favorite TV shows like the Mindy Project. And you guys, she gives a powerful key piece of advice to anyone who wants to begin writing a book. Her insights are remarkable, and I just can't wait for you to hear her. She is also very likable, and I found myself laughing and having the best time. Here is my conversation with Kristen.
Well, I'm thrilled that you asked me, and I'm really honored too, because I like the mix of the people you have. I think it's really great, and you're doing a great service highlighting what women can do and what's within our power that we often kind of negate or take for granted. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, you and I met because you are a local author in the Nashville area, and you and I met. My book club read your book, one of your books, Queen's Autumn Gambit.
Correct.
And so we read your book, and we had the most fabulous book club ever that I have ever attended, where you brought some like character pieces.
Right. I brought two games. It's kind of my philosophy in general with my classes or just really whatever speaking engagements I do. Nobody wants the boring, stuffy lecture, or as my husband affectionately called it, and I completely agree, death by PowerPoint, where the lecturer is up there reading the bullet points and the slides, and you're thinking, just hand me the slides if that's all
right
you're going to do. So I brought, I believe it was the characters, and you had to match who you thought were the characters, kind of a composite or as close to what I imagined them. Mm-hmm. And then I had a timeline because there's all these flashbacks, and to break down the timeline so everybody could sort of see in order how all the flashbacks went in the book.
Yes.
But
it was so vivid. I totally remember that. And it was just so much fun to hear the conversation. It was just like the best, book club meeting, because usually we'll talk about a book, that we've read, but to see more of an interactive and just kind of having people talk about, well, I thought this and I thought that. And so it really did get the ball rolling in our book club to connect and hear people's opinions of, why. And I think a couple of us maybe asked you, like, why did you do this? And why, which is like the best conversation ever, because that you want to ask. I love it when people ask authors, like, why did you kill that person off? Or why did you put them together? I mean, that's just so, it gets to the core of it, which I love.
And that, honestly, I'm so glad you said that, because for me as an author, it's just a matter of fact. It's an isolating endeavor. You're in front of your computer. You're usually alone. In my case, my kids are interrupting me 20 times a day, but in general, you're by yourself, and you have this whole world, and so you send it out into the actual world. And when you have readers, that's my thing, my passion. I really want to connect with readers and hear what they thought, because the characters then become so organic and breathing, and it's just interesting to hear how the readers are receptive, and what characters they really liked, and why, and
Yeah,
so
and how they
to me
interpret them.
yeah, exactly. So
How they interpret them based on how you saw them. And do you ever get surprised and go, well, I never thought about that, but you're right. Like, kind of like having that dialogue of, yeah, and digging in deeper to that author itself and that personality that maybe you didn't even know he had, but that someone else picked up on it. Does that ever happen?
well, sometimes I think specifically with Queen's Autumn Gambit, I had particular characters that there was one particular character in that book that I just adored. Her Stacy.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved, it was interesting that other people really, really liked her and identified with her. But then sometimes I would laugh where some characters people really didn't like and couldn't
Mm-hmm.
stand. And I thought, gee, I didn't think they were that bad.
Yeah.
And so it was really, and then when I would question them, well, why didn't you like them? And they would pull out things that really goes to show with so much with reviews and just everything in life, that 50% people will like it, 50% people
Mm-hmm.
won't. And it's sort of, you can never please everybody, but at the same time, if you feel like, oh, no one's not going to 100% hate something. Um,
Right.
so I think it was a really good moment for me to remind myself of general. You have to stay true to who you are, your kind of vision, but at the same time, welcome the input, because they may enlighten you upon something that you just didn't even realize
Mm-hmm.
or connect with. So that has been fun, um, slightly humorous to me too, because
Yeah.
I it's always curious what people will find interesting or
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. What about, and you have another book called Deep Fried and Southern Sides.
Sides, yes, that has been a complete odyssey in itself. So they say when people, for instance, I'm trying to think of maybe a screenplay or Harry Potter books. That's the
Mm-hmm.
one that just came to mind. And then you had the movie translation. People are like, well, it wasn't like the book. And we just, in my class, Kindle, from Kindle Academy, we did, it's a literature and arts. So I pick a theme, and around that theme, I build short stories, novels, art history, to kind of show to kids and people in general that whether it's a painting, a poetry, music, the expression through the arts is truly an expression of the human soul, and they just are manifested in different ways. And so I had a section, it was science fiction and surrealism, and we read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy as the novel
Mm-hmm.
choice. And that book originally wasn't a book. It started
Oh,
as a
no.
radio drama.
Seriously, I had no
Ser-
idea.
Seriously, it was a radio drama, and it was hugely popular. So he translated it into a book. The book is different than the radio drama. And then from the book, he, in the midst, sort of sad, in the midst of he actually died, but he was writing the screenplay.
Mm-hmm.
And so the screenplay, if you see the movie, is completely different from the book, which is different from the radio drama. And he did that on purpose. And so flash forward to Deep Fried, I wrote it originally as a play.
Okay.
And I knew translating a book to a play was really difficult, because a play is on a stage. You can't have a lot of changes, because that's costly and makes it
Right.
difficult. And it's very stagnant in the sense of placement and time and setting. Well, I don't know what I was thinking. But I thought, oh, it won't be that big of a deal to translate it from into a book. It is, I swear, it's a lesson in, Kristen, never say never. It's a big deal because it's a huge
It was a
deal.
big deal. Oh,
Oh,
wow. I can't even imagine.
it's been gigantic. And
So
so
you wrote it as a play and
as a
then
play,
you turned it into a book.
turned it into a book.
Yeah,
And
that would be hard, I think. I think
it
that would
was,
be hard.
it's extremely hard, but it was also a really great lesson in going through I love it to this is annoying to I hate it. I hate this
Why did
too.
I do this to myself?
Yeah. To it's not too bad. To it's really funny. Okay. And so much of that, especially if you're in a business or whatever, you go through those periods where why am I here?
Mm-hmm.
Why did I start organizing that closet? It was much better.
It was a mess.
And so, but now I'm really enjoying it, and I've kind of come full circle. And so my goal, I started releasing it chapter by chapter, and yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
yeah, and I was trying to do that. Uh, this is a tip for writers. So on Amazon, they have these algorithms. It's extremely complicated, but uh, basically, the more often you publish,
Mm-hmm.
the more often your name will pop up in search engines or recommendations.
Okay.
And it's really hard for me to, uh, I can't, I'm not a Stephen King. I have a million other things I have to do. It's not writing, it's not my soul. I have other responsibilities.
Right.
So that said, I'd heard of other people doing many chapters where they would release chapters
Oh.
and then eventually then do a huge, then combine them at the end into one
Okay.
book. Well, so I tried that and it was working well, except I was falling behind. And then I don't know if I wasn't doing it right. It's always a learning curve. But people were then finding maybe chapter 5 and not, even though it said chapter 5, not understanding
That
this
it
is
was part of
a whole,
that
yes,
there was 1, 2, and 3, 4,
exactly.
and just reading 5. So they were
Right.
just reading 5 on Amazon, but not seeing the others.
Getting confused. And then I felt badly because,
Because they
I
just
don't,
had 5.
right. And I don't want to confuse readers.
Right.
So I thought, okay, that didn't, in this scenario, it didn't work. I think it works well
Mm-hmm.
as long as you're not doing a chapter. If you're more doing like a short story and then you're going to
Okay.
put together a short story compilation
Yeah,
where
that's helpful to know.
I mean, that's what I would suggest to writers. Don't try to do it chapter by chapter because at least my experience was you're going to confuse your readers. But if you
Yeah.
have a short story with a general theme about, I don't know, race cars, but
Mm-hmm.
each story in itself is a standalone beginning, middle, and end, then if someone found your race car story number 5, they're okay. And with
Yeah. And so were you releasing these each chapter to buy, right? On Amazon. So they
right,
were
and I
buying it one chapter
you
at a time. So that's
correct.
cool.
And, well, you can't. Amazon's changed their policies. I wanted to do it for free,
Mm-hmm.
but they won't allow you to do that anymore. It's very complicated.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to, the minimum you have to release it at is 99 cents. So I mean,
Okay.
that's not that much, but the moral of the story is the deep fried book is literally aptly named. I felt like I've been fried
You have been
repeatedly.
fried.
But the book itself is fun because it was the reason why I wrote it, or as a play, it was a complete departure from Queen's Autumn Gambit.
Yeah.
Very
Very
secret,
different.
mystery, and Deep Fried was more of a humorous
Mm-hmm.
Southern. So it sort of showcases my other side of my personality.
Yeah. So tell me what else you do. You mentioned that you have classes, you have lectures, you speak, and I know that you have worked for the newspaper here in town, so I know about that. Tell me how that all. What are you still involved in? What are you still doing?
I am. Yes, I did write for the Tennessean. I actually wrote for them for 10 years. I'm now with Brentwood Homepage, which is an online media group. They've recently consolidated. I think they're Williamson County media group, and they're an access articles that are Middle Tennessee. So I have articles through them currently, and I've called it Kindoll Academy. I've taught for over 10 years various classes, and they've been from a wide range of topics and subjects, and I'm just now really trying to branch out and get it wider known. And kind of the classes are unique in the sense of they're not cookie cutter, and that's sort of my personality. I've like to, for instance, the literature and art, and most of the curriculum, if not all the curriculum from all the classes I've done, I've completely handwritten or created from scratch.
Okay.
And the science, class is even completely different because I like to bring in and touch on, for kids, learning can be, over the years, learning has, I feel like even for adults, there's sort of a turn off almost for it. They feel like it's going to be boring, or really boring is the major word that I think that it comes to mind. And so I really want to, bring in elements of like video, hands-on.
Yeah.
We do plays. I'm always mixing it up to sort of touch on the kinetic, auditory, and visual aspects that really encompass learning.
Because not everybody's the same type of learner.
Exactly.
I mean, we all have, different ways that we learn. I don't learn by watching certain things, if it is like a PowerPoint, like you were saying earlier, that just lulls me to sleep.
Right. Right. But the PowerPoints, to be fair too, when they are done well.
True. If they're interactive. Yeah.
Yes. If they're interactive, they're amazing. And so I think it's this approach why a lot of people, and it's probably the homeschooler in me, there's not, my dad always said that there's more than one way up the mountain.
That's a good,
people, they're runners. I hate running. I detest it. Like yoga, but I'm still getting up the mountain.
Right.
And I'm just doing it, in warrior poses versus, sprinting. And so that's how I feel kids are. And so my classes, I really try to bring that to life and make learning exciting. And the best compliment, I did a class a couple of years ago, and hold on your horses because people are like, how could this be exciting? But study skills.
Oh, you did a class on study skills?
Did a class on study skills, and the parents signed their kids up to it. And the kids, the look on their face. The kids, well, when they came in, they had that look of, gee, thanks, Mom. Really?
Right.
Really? And I know these kids, and the kids are like, Miss Kristen, it's not going to be boring. Every kid, we ended with a massive treasure hunt is how I work. I always have like a big challenge at the end. And the kids, the looks on their faces, and one of the boys that was particularly not happy about attending in the beginning said, that was the best class ever.
Oh,
and I
good.
said, thank you. But
I can see how that would be, how you could make it fun. I mean, just, learn, because learning can be fun.
Yes.
We just have to figure out how they learn and, being, connecting to all of their senses hands-on, interactive, you name it. I mean, that sounds like a fun class. I should have enrolled in that one. I need study skills help.
Well, and the other thing too, I think is a lot of teachers, and it's hard, and as a parent too, I try to remember this, that our kids, they're their own people. They are their own individual, and they have their own ideas, and their ideas are equally as valid as perhaps ours. We have greater life experience, and so we know the tried and true, but we don't know it all. And I love in my classes to have that open area or lectures where the other participants, I'm not the master, I'm learning too. And so I'm just imparting, this is the information I've gathered, almost the conduit is what I like to think of. But there's what they take, and I bring all the knowledge together, but you can't make the horse drink. So I try to just show them, hey, this is how you do it, but ultimately knowledge is in your hands and power, and own it. And that's what I feel so passionately about, is for people to own their own trajectory and their own goals, and that their goals are as equally as valid as mine, or, not to compare themselves. So
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me, what does a day in the life of Kristen Kindoll look like?
Well, okay. People are maybe not so surprised, but I usually get up about 4:30 in the morning.
Oh, whoa.
And
that's early.
Yeah. I kind of do farmer hours without the farm.
Without the farm. Okay.
Yep. A little, but I get up at 4:30, and I usually work out from 5 to 6. So I do these 2 workouts on PBS. So anybody can do them. They're on PBS at 5 a.m.
At that time, at 5, they're on PBS. Okay.
Yeah. So 5 is classical stretch. I highly recommend it. I have a lot of arthritis, and since I've done yoga for years, but this classical stretch has really, I don't have knee pain anymore.
Wow.
And so I do that. She's from 5 to 5:30, and then from 5:30 to 6, I do body electric, which I
have
remember.
Seen that.
Yeah, my mom doing it. And so it kind of is a little homage to my mom, because I remember her and her leg warmers doing body electric. And then I have breakfast, and I don't watch television, and I'm not saying that as like an elitist thing. I just don't have a lot of time. So the computer, like Hulu or accessing, I'm always like a day late on shows.
What's going on in shows.
Yeah. So that's when I catch up with my shows, is, from like 6 till, and eat my breakfast, and while, between that, do email. And then my kids kind of get up, so I have to get them situated and going. And then from 8 to noon, we do homeschooling. And then from noon till like dinner time, it depends on the day, but we've got all these they're extracurricular activities. And then in the evening, I'm either, I cook dinner, and then I kind of crash, and I'm usually in bed and asleep by 8.
Oh, wow. That is early.
Yeah. A lot of it's because of my daughter. She sort of follows the same hours.
Okay.
But basically I'm whipped, mentally. I mean, I work out because I believe in the mind, body, spirit mantra, and it really has helped. But I get mentally fatigued from just all the day's happenings. And that really, because when I've gone on retreats, I can stay up much later. So I definitely believe moms, it's harder on us and women in general, because we're the social coordinators. There's so much of that just wears you down that you're not even kind of cognizant of.
Yeah.
So, but that's kind of a typical day. And then usually when I do my writing, honestly, is on my phone.
Really?
Yeah.
That's surprising to me. On your phone?
On my phone. So I tell people, other writers, all the time, because I run a writing goal group
Mm-hmm.
that and people are like, oh, I can't write, or, I said, hey man, I'm writing on my phone. And a lot of times I'm in the car and I have it on, like if I'm at a stoplight, I either can, text or, type it in.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time I have it on speaker and I'm talking into it.
And do you use an app or is it
Google Docs.
Google Docs? And then you
Google,
put it on the little, you hit the little icon that has the microphone.
correct.
And then
So
you just start talking.
right. Yes, correct. Or sometimes I'll be sitting on the couch, or I've been at restaurants if I'm waiting,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm going to meet someone, or I mean, anywhere, if I'm waiting, like at a doctor's office,
Yeah.
I'll just say, okay, here's a good time because my thing with writing is if you've only written one word, you're one word ahead of where you've been.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I
Because
like that. You might as
so
well,
many,
yeah, do
yeah,
one
yeah,
word.
one word. And think about it. If you did one word each day,
That's
that's
closer
300.
than you were.
Yeah, yeah. 365 words. So,
Yeah. So just do something, and there's no excuse. We all have phones. That
right.
we all have phones. And what's interesting is when you were saying that, I don't, for some reason, I must have taken it off, but I had, so with my business, I will go and do a consulting with a company or an individual who's starting a business. And so when I get back in my car, because it's fresh and I need to take notes, and I don't take notes while I'm there as much as I'm listening, and I'm hearing what they're saying and, just kind of being really present. And so when I get in my car, the strangest thing happened. Like when I started taking notes on my Evernote, it would automatically, I don't know, it like grabbed like who I was meeting with that day,
Mhm.
and or the location. Like if it was a company or a business, it would say, like if I said I'm going to Wonder Bread Company
Mhm.
to see, Jill Hatcher. And it would just like it would grab somehow Jill Hatcher and Wonder Bread Company, and that would be in my notes when I started the note about
Nice.
talking about them. So like I didn't even have to categorize it. It was already downloaded, like it was already started for me. And then I just took notes about, my conversation with Jill and how,
Yeah.
what I needed to, respond to her about. And it was just like I was like, whoa, this is just a little too. First of all, it's a little too creepy that they kind of. I mean, it's totally a smartphone thing, and of course the
Right.
smart app of Evernote. But I'm with you. I use that. I put mine in notes. I use that a lot. Like, oh, I've got an idea for a blog post. I'm gonna, you know, speak into it, and it just, it's so easy. And then you can edit later, right?
Exactly. Well, exactly. And then you've got it. I mean, that's half the issue of writing, honestly, is I mean, this is a very big visual, but puke on the page. You just
Mm-hmm.
gotta sometimes get it out. But really, the nuts and bolts of writing is the editing stage, and
Mm-hmm.
you can edit something depending on what it is or whatever for days. So, but you just got to get it on the page. And for me, that has helped but when I wrote Queen's Autumn Gambit, it was totally different life and circumstances. So that's the thing.
Yeah,
I
because your
think
children were younger.
right, exactly. And so
Some of them might have been taking naps. Did they take naps?
right, and my daughter was she was in a bassinet, and the other kids, my son, I homeschooled him, my older one, through 8th grade, and he goes to now a regular school. But my middle one, I'm still in the process, I'm still homeschooling him.
Mm-hmm.
But the point was, yeah, it was a different life. So I think that's the other thing. Sometimes, especially businesses, we had this business model and it worked. It
Mm-hmm.
worked so well, or whatever, it works. So it's got to always work. Well, life doesn't work that way.
Right.
And things change. Technology, you just said it, evolves into a big brother. I'm great with
Yes.
your big brother aspect. and you need to go with it and readjust yourself, and you can still then reach your goals, but you just may do it a different way than you initially or may have done it before. So
yeah. And you have 3 kids. And
correct.
your lovely daughter is, and I see her at story time. Sometimes we used to run into each other at the library. And
Yes.
tell me about her and how you care for her.
Yes. So she is now in elementary school age, and she's had a myriad of issues. From her initial onset, she was born premature to the latest is we have now identified she has seizures.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Yeah.
so, but she was, the big thing about her is the doctors, and they're doing their job. So let me stress that. And there's different schools of thought, but they're the point that I would want people to get from this is they said that she probably would be never roll over, never move, in a nutshell, be a vegetable. And, you've met her. She's walking.
Yes.
She is talking.
Unbelievable that they even
And,
said that about her.
well, and what I like to say and my takeaway and what I try to tell people is we're all given a set of circumstances in life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We're all, and you can look around the world, and some people's circumstances are quite horrific. It's what you choose as an individual to surpass. And so
Right.
there's nothing even to the point of insurmountable, or maybe it is. Maybe you, no matter how much you try, will never be able to walk. I mean, in her case, she has.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't mean that you still can't accomplish massive, wonderful things. So I like to tell people, don't let your circumstances define you. You define your own circumstances.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that to me is what she's exemplified, and she's taught me so much. And I've been acquainted with a world of people and moms and dads who are just warriors for their kids, and we're all warriors, but and within my own self, it's helped me find my voice and own my own truth, and
That's good.
speak up for myself. So I really want your listeners to, own their voices and their passions. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
that's why we're here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and we talked earlier about mentioning her just because I admire the fact that we all have situations in life that that come up that we could say, we can't do this. I can't write a book. I'm caring for my elderly mom, or I can't write a book. I'm doing this. And of course you just told them how to do it. You're on the phone. You've got your phone right next to you when you're driving. You have, not to promote driving and writing, so to speak, but you've got a few times here and there where you're parked somewhere and waiting on someone. I mean, we're all, texting and checking social media. Why can't we write something? So I commend you for, just, like you were saying, just, you're doing, we all have something, and we need to just go after it and do it.
mm-hmm.
And
well, and then the other thing too is, I really feel, which is good, the empowerment movement is so important, but I feel like they neglected one important aspect of being empowered is realizing you can't do everything, and there's nothing wrong with that.
right.
So I've had to make concerted, hard choices. I would love to do, just recently, I was getting back into my playwriting and poetry, and personal things happened where it was just I couldn't do it all. So instead of quitting everything, I said, okay, deep breath. What is the most joy that I find? And it's my novel writing. So I'm focusing on that. But I don't. My house is clean, but it's not a show place. And I've had to deal with that. We stay on top of the yard work, so there's not cars on blocks, but
yeah. So when you're go ahead. So when you're looking at stuff, you're just like, okay, what
can I do? Or you may not have 1,200 friends, but you may have 3 really great friends. So pour your energy into those 3 great friends, and that's enough. Or pour your energy into your. We just have a finite number of hours in the day and energy, and so really examine where do you derive your enjoyment and love, and then put that in there, and that's good enough. Don't compare yourself. Well, she's doing whatever. It's always easy to look on the outside and see the superwoman persona, but you don't really know, well, what is she not doing, or what is she having to move around, or you're just getting half the story. So
that's true. Yeah.
But I think and I say this really to my special needs moms and dads especially, but women in general, we always put ourselves last. And we're natural caregivers, especially if you're a mom. And I think it's so important, and if nothing else, and I really feel like your podcasts highlight that it's okay to do something for yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
And you should. And so, anyway, that's my little soapbox.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's just powerful right there. That's very good. Yeah. Do something for yourself. And, there's so many things that I know, so many people out there listening that think, I can't do something, but, if you're writing, this is, today we talked about how you could write one word, and I'm sure it can apply to other things that you can do, one baby step at a time. So tell me what you're reading these days.
Okay, well, that is, I would love to say, I'm a voracious reader, but most of my reading pertains to either my classes or things that I'm teaching. So the current one I'm right now is Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. And I just finished Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain. And
spoken like a true homeschool mom, I must say.
But I really wish I could. I'm not up to date person. I read, and I get a magazine called Poet and Writers, and so I'll read about other stuff, and I'm always like, oh, I would love to, but most of the time, and honestly, I'm a big proponent for books on tape.
I love books on tape. Yeah, that's downloadable books now.
Yes.
I still say books on tape, like you.
Yeah, I do too. I know. I just 80'd myself. Yeah, I'm a child from the 80s.
It's not tapes anymore. I download. Do you download on? There's an app called. Oh goodness, I can't remember the name of it, but it's Hoopla. There's Hoopla and Overdrive.
Yes. Okay. So I'm doing now, and we've been doing it and actually when I'm checking my email in the morning, that's how I did Tom Sawyer. I'd read it before, but it had been, when I was a little kid or whatever, but it's called One Click Digital.
One Click. So that's a new one, a different app.
Yeah, it's another one. They're all through the library. I love yay libraries, thank you libraries. It's through the National Public Library. I think other branches, obviously. But what was nice about it is that you can either download it, or in my case, I just would listen to it. You know, I don't want to say
Right.
live because you can pause, but I wasn't downloading it on a device. I was just
So you were
listening on my
streaming
computer.
it. You were
Streaming it.
streaming
Thank you.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were streaming it. Yeah, yeah. I usually download mine if I know I'm gonna want to listen to it, because I'll take it with me, and that way it's on my phone and I can just listen to it even if I don't have Wi-Fi, or if I'm out of town and I need to listen to it on the beach or whatever, or somewhere. Yeah, I love those books on tape. I still call them books on tape too.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
know
what
the
what else are you absolutely loving these days, Kristen?
My big thing, well, currently the weather. I have all the windows open in my house. Yay, no air conditioner. I love it. But I like my TV shows. So the new TV show that I'm just kind of getting obsessed in is Veep.
Mm-hmm.
And I should preface, I shouldn't say only, but I primarily like 30-minute shows and comedies, mainly because I have a lot of, I feel like drama,
Yeah.
stuff with my everyday. I just want to laugh or only,
Is Veep a 30-minute show?
You know what? It's hard because I'm watching it on
Like Hulu or something? Or...
Amazon Prime
Oh,
actually,
okay. Mm-hmm.
but the other show I'm watching is Younger, and that's 30 minutes. I
Yeah.
don't. That's from TV Land,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not getting paid for these plugs, by the way. So, but yeah, I Younger is definitely 30 minutes, and then what was that? The Mindy Project has just come on, so I'm watching that. But yeah, people are always like, "Oh, you need to watch such and such."
Yeah.
Is it an hour? No, I can't do
No.
that.
If it's in an hour, forget it. Even
Yeah.
even with commercials, it's too long. That's too long.
Yes. Yes.
Anything else? What else are you loving besides your TV shows and the weather?
What else am I loving? Really, those are the primary, oh, I guess, well, um, super brain yoga. I
Super
know.
brain yoga. Is
Yes.
that like for your brain, yoga for your brain, or is that like
Yes.
real yoga, like
No, it's
body yoga?
yoga for your brain. And when I tell it, I know people always have this look of,
Like, huh?
what Twilight Zone have you slipped into? But a
Super
friend
brain
of
yoga.
mine turned me onto it, and it's really, really, it's been found. It's anybody can do it, but they've found a lot of success within special needs classrooms.
Okay.
And the movements when you do them, so you cross, and I'm giving an abbreviated version, but your left hand crosses over and holds your right earlobe, and you do it this way, and then your right hand crosses over your left arm and
Mm-hmm.
holds onto your left earlobe.
Mm-hmm.
And then you do these squats, breathing down, breathing up for 3 minutes. And what it does is it aligns both hemispheres of your brain.
Okay.
And it helps with fatigue, but it helps with what they've noticed and what I've noticed specifically in my daughter, um, that her speech and her movements are just much more in sync and in fluid. And
Wow.
and when I did it the first time, and I had my son try it too, just so we could, to just kind of get our little mini poll, I felt almost like a buzz. I don't know
Hmm.
if you've ever had stuffed sinuses, and then when
Yes.
you finally can breathe and you almost get high from that oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
what it felt like, that little buzz in your frontal cortex, almost your front, your forehead. And my son said the same thing, that he felt almost dizzy. But I don't know. I've been doing that just to help, and it's supposed to help with your emotional alignment and forgetfulness. So they've
Oh,
noticed some cases of improvement with Alzheimer's patients as well.
really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, forgetfulness, you had me there, because I'm gonna have to go check that out. Well,
Yeah.
I'm super interested in that. That sounds really super brain yoga.
Super brain yoga. And you can just ping it on and find YouTubes that explain it. But it's endorsed by neurologists, and they, it's not something I made up. So,
yeah.
But
I'm gonna go look into it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Kristen. This has been, this was the record. Like, I think I laughed the most and had the most fun here on this podcast than anything else. I just have enjoyed talking with you, and you have such fascinating things that are going on in your life and with your books, and I learned so much, and thank you so much for sharing a bit of your world with the rest of us. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, too. You have a blessed day.
Wow, she gave us such great insight. Like when she challenged writers to write daily, even if you just write one word. Oh my goodness, I love that. She said, if you only write one word, then you are one word ahead of where you've been. What great advice. I loved it. I want to make sure you know that you don't have to write things down when listening to Rising Stories. All of the information is on my website at CorrineSandiford.com under Rising Stories Podcast. There you will find all of the links and promotions from the guest. And I want to mention something I failed to mention last time with our guest Cheyenne Conradi, who made jewelry. She is offering 20% discount on her jewelry, so head over to the show notes for the promo code. Thanks again for listening, and make sure you follow me on Instagram and on Twitter. Music is by Ben Sound, and this podcast has been sponsored by Brentwood Life Coach. Thanks so much for listening to Rising Stories. Take care and keep rising in your own story.